I found the receipt, wedged between the pages of our joint tax return. Not a hotel receipt, not lingerie, not flowers. A receipt from a fertility clinic in Portland, 200 miles from our home in Eugene, dated 3 weeks ago. My wife Ashley had told me she was visiting her college roommate that weekend. The itemized charge read, "Consultation, Paternity Verification Services." We'd been trying for a baby for 8 months. My hands went numb. The paper fluttered to my desk in my home office, landing face up next to the 1099 forms I'd been organizing. Through the wall, I could hear Ashley humming in the kitchen, preparing her famous lasagna for dinner. Wednesday night tradition. She always hummed when she cooked, usually off-key, always endearing. The humming stopped being endearing about 30 seconds ago. I pulled up our joint credit card statement on my laptop. There it was. March 14th, $340, Cascade Women's Health Services. The same day she'd supposedly been wine tasting with Jennifer in the Willamette Valley. I scrolled further. February 28th, 89, The Riverside Inn, Portland. February 14th, Valentine's Day, when she'd worked late on that emergency presentation, 156, Bellamy's Steakhouse, Portland. I'd given her flowers that night when she got home at 11. She'd cried and said they were beautiful. My phone buzzed. A text from Ashley. Running to grocery store, out of ricotta, back in 20, love you. 20 minutes. I had 20 minutes to decide if I was going to confront her or investigate further. I chose investigation. Ashley's laptop sat on the breakfast nook counter where she'd left it that morning. We'd always known each other's passwords. Her idea, actually, something she'd suggested early in our marriage. Complete transparency, she'd said. That's how you build trust. Her password still worked. Benson 2019, our wedding year. I opened her email first. Nothing obvious in the inbox, but people who hide things don't leave them in obvious places. I checked her trash folder. Empty, recently cleared. Sent items, mostly work correspondence, emails to her mother, a thread with Jennifer about some Netflix show. Then I checked her archived folders. There were 47 emails in a folder labeled Property Listings. We weren't house hunting. I clicked it open. The emails weren't about property. They were from someone named Tyler Westbrook, and they went back 6 months. The subject lines were innocuous. Re-Q4 projections. Following up. Tuesday works. But the content made my stomach drop through the floor. December 3rd. Can't stop thinking about Sunday. You're incredible. I know this is complicated, but I've never felt this way before. December 18th. I understand you need time. But Ashley, what we have is real. He doesn't appreciate you the way I do. January 9th. I'm serious about this. About us. I want to build a life with you. I want to give you everything you deserve. February 2nd. The doctor said we should know for sure in another week. Whatever happens, I'm here. I'm all in. My vision blurred. I gripped the counter edge, forcing myself to breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The way my therapist taught me after my brother died. February 2nd. That was around the time Ashley had started complaining about feeling nauseated in the mornings. She'd taken 3 pregnancy tests, all negative, she'd said. We'd both been disappointed. She'd cried in my arms, and I'd promised her it would happen for us eventually. I opened the most recent email, dated 4 days ago. Tyler, I can't keep doing this. The test came back, it's not yours. I'm 8 weeks along and the timeline matches up with David. I think we need to stop before this gets worse. I love my husband. I made a mistake. His response sent the same day. A mistake? We've been together for 6 months. You told me you were going to leave him. You said your marriage was dead. Now suddenly one pregnancy test changes everything? I deserve better than this, Ashley. We deserve better. Her reply. Please don't make this harder. I'm deleting these emails. Don't contact me again. But she hadn't deleted them. She'd archived them. I heard the garage door rumble open. Ashley was home. I had maybe 90 seconds before she walked through the door with her grocery bags, smiling, asking if I wanted to grate the parmesan or set the table. I closed the laptop, placed it exactly where I'd found it, and walked back to my office. My hands were steady now. The initial shock had crystallized into something colder, harder. 8 weeks pregnant. She'd told me 3 days ago, on Saturday morning. We'd celebrated with champagne, sparkling cider for her, and called both sets of parents. My mother had cried with joy. Ashley's father had made a joke about finally becoming a grandpa. I'd spent Sunday building a Pinterest board of nursery ideas. The front door opened. "David, I'm home. They were out of whole milk ricotta, but I got part skim. That's fine, right?" Her voice sounded exactly the same. Bright, cheerful, loving. The voice of someone who hadn't been sleeping with another man for half a year. The voice of someone who hadn't needed a paternity test to figure out who'd fathered her child. "That's fine, honey," I called back. My voice sounded normal too. Funny how that worked. I pulled out my phone and took photos of every email on her laptop while she unpacked groceries in the kitchen. Then I forwarded the credit card statement to my personal email account. Then I created a new folder in my cloud storage and uploaded everything. By the time Ashley appeared in my office doorway, flour dusting her cheek and that familiar smile on her face, I had enough documentation to bury her. "Dinner in 45 minutes, she said. "Want to open some wine?" I smiled back. "Sounds perfect." The corporate awards ceremony was at the Hilton downtown. I straightened my tie in the bathroom mirror, while Ashley reapplied lipstick in the hallway outside. We'd arrived separately. She'd come straight from work. I'd driven in after finishing a client presentation. "You look great," I told her when we met by the ballroom entrance. She smiled and squeezed my hand. "Thanks for coming. I know these things aren't your favorite." "Wouldn't miss it." That was 3 weeks after I'd found the receipt. 21 days of sleeping beside her, eating breakfast with her, discussing baby names and nursery colors. 21 days of perfect performance. The ballroom was set up with round tables, each seating 8. Ashley's firm had reserved 4 tables near the front. I recognized some faces from previous company events, holiday parties, summer picnics. I'd met most of these people while maintaining the role of supportive husband. We sat with her immediate team. I knew 2 of them, Janet from accounting, who'd been at our wedding, and Robert from operations, who talked too much about CrossFit. The other 4 were newer hires. Dinner was rubber chicken and overcooked vegetables. I ate mechanically, nodding at appropriate moments while Robert described his latest workout regimen. Ashley was animated, laughing with her coworkers, one hand occasionally resting on her still flat stomach. The awards portion started at 7:30. Various categories: Employee of the Year, Innovation Award, Leadership Excellence. I applauded when expected. Ashley didn't win anything, but she clapped enthusiastically for her colleagues. Then came the peer recognition segment. Employees could nominate coworkers for informal acknowledgments. The VP of Human Resources read them aloud between the major awards. "This next one is from Tyler Westbrook in the Portland office," the VP announced. My spine straightened. Ashley's hand froze halfway to her water glass. "Tyler wants to recognize Ashley Brennan for her support during a difficult period of divorce. He writes, Ashley's friendship and encouragement helped me through one of the darkest times in my life. Her willingness to listen, to drive up to Portland when I needed someone, and to remind me that life goes on. These things made all the difference. Thank you, Ashley." Scattered applause. Ashley's face was carefully neutral, but her neck flushed red. She smiled and gave a small wave toward the back of the room where the Portland contingent sat. "That's sweet," Janet said. "I didn't know you 2 were close." We worked on the Cascade project together last year, Ashley said smoothly. He was going through a rough time. I reached over and took her hand, squeezed it gently. You're always helping people. Her eyes met mine. Just being a friend. The ceremony continued. 2 more awards, 3 more peer recognitions. I maintained perfect composure, laughing at the jokes, applauding at the right moments. During dessert, a man approached our table. Mid-30s, expensive suit, confident walk. He had the kind of smile that belonged in toothpaste commercials. Ashley, he leaned down to hug her. She stood awkwardly, accepting the embrace. Tyler, hi. I didn't know you were coming down for this. Wouldn't miss it. These things are always better with the Eugene team. He turned to me, extending his hand. You must be David. I've heard so much about you. I shook his hand firmly. Tyler, congratulations on getting through your divorce. Thanks, man. It was brutal, but I'm through the worst of it now. He glanced at Ashley. Had good support. Ashley's great at supporting people, I said. She's very generous with her time. Robert, oblivious to any undercurrent, jumped in. Hey, Tyler, didn't you and Ashley basically live in each other's offices for like 6 months last year, during the Cascade project? Tyler laughed. Pretty much. We were inseparable. Late nights, weekend work sessions, that whole grind. 6 months, I said. That's dedication. Ashley's smile looked painted on. The project had a tight deadline. We made a good team, Tyler said. His eyes lingered on her a beat too long. Janet, bless her complete lack of social awareness, added, I remember that. Ashley was up in Portland constantly. Every other week, it seemed like. Sometimes more, Tyler agreed. But hey, we delivered the project on time and I got through my divorce without completely falling apart. Win-win. Definitely a win, I said. The conversation shifted. Tyler talked about the Portland office's expansion, some new client they'd landed. I nodded along, asking questions about revenue projections and market positioning. Just 2 professionals discussing business. After 10 minutes, Tyler excused himself to network with the senior partners. Ashley sat back down, reaching for her water glass. Her hand trembled slightly. He seems nice, I said quietly. He's a good colleague. Very grateful for your support. David, it's great that you could help him through his divorce. That must have been hard for him. She looked at me carefully. It was just being a decent human being. You're very decent, I agreed. The ceremony wrapped up at 9. People mingled, drinks flowing from the open bar. Ashley excused herself to the restroom. I stood near our table, scrolling through my phone. David, right? A woman in her 50s approached, wine glass in hand. I'm Patricia. I work with Ashley in client services. Nice to meet you. Congratulations on the baby. Ashley's been glowing. Thank you. We're excited. I bet. After everything, it must feel like perfect timing. I looked up from my phone. Everything? Patricia's smile faltered. Oh, I just meant, well, Ashley seemed stressed last year. The Portland project was intense, and with Tyler's divorce drama, she waved her hand vaguely. But she seems so happy now. Pregnancy suits her. The project was stressful? She was up there constantly. I remember joking that she should just get an apartment in Portland. But that's over now, thank goodness. Fresh start with the baby and all. Fresh start, I repeated. Ashley returned, sliding her arm through mine. Ready to head out? Whenever you are. We said our goodbyes, collected our coats. The drive home took 40 minutes. Ashley was quiet, staring out the window. Tyler seems to be doing well, I said casually. I guess. His divorce must have been really difficult. Most divorces are. True. Good thing he had you to talk to. She turned to look at me. What are you getting at? Nothing. Just making conversation. I kept my eyes on the road. I didn't realize you two worked together so closely. It was a project. We collaborated. For 6 months. The timeline was what it was. I let silence fill the car for several miles. Then, Robert said you were inseparable. Robert exaggerates everything. You've heard him talk about CrossFit. Fair point. I took the exit toward our neighborhood. Still, 6 months of close collaboration. Late nights, weekend sessions. That's intense. It was work, David. I'm not saying it wasn't. I pulled into our driveway, put the car in park, turned to face her. I'm just surprised you never mentioned how close you two were. You usually tell me about your work relationships. Her jaw tightened. There was nothing to tell. Apparently enough that he felt the need to publicly thank you for helping him through his divorce. He was being nice. He was being grateful. I unbuckled my seatbelt. For your support during a difficult time. David, what exactly are you accusing me of? I held her gaze. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just noting that my wife spent 6 months being inseparable from a man going through a divorce, driving to Portland regularly to support him, and somehow never mentioned any of this to me. You're being paranoid. Am I? I opened my car door. Or am I finally paying attention? Inside the house, Ashley went straight to the bedroom. I heard the door close, then the shower running. I sat in my home office, laptop open, reviewing the files I'd organized 3 weeks ago. 47 emails. Detailed documentation of a 6-month affair. Paternity test results. Credit card statements showing hotel charges, restaurant bills, gas station receipts between Eugene and Portland. Tyler's public thank you had been spectacularly stupid. A man who'd been sleeping with another man's wife, thanking her publicly at a corporate event in front of her husband. Either he was incredibly arrogant or genuinely believed I was completely oblivious. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Good seeing you tonight. We should grab coffee sometime. Compare notes on being married to demanding careers. Tyler. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I saved his number under Evidence Tyler Westbrook and took a screenshot. The shower stopped running. I heard Ashley moving around the bedroom, drawers opening and closing. I opened a new document on my laptop and began typing. Names, dates, locations, every detail from tonight's event. Patricia's comments about Ashley being stressed, constantly in Portland. Robert's observation about them being inseparable. Tyler's public acknowledgement, his private text message. The ledger was growing. Every entry documented, time-stamped, filed appropriately. Ashley appeared in the doorway wearing her bathrobe, hair wet. Are we going to talk about this? About what? About whatever you're implying. I closed my laptop. I'm not implying anything. I'm just processing information. What information? That my wife had a relationship with a colleague that she never mentioned. That's interesting information. We work together, that's all. I stood up, walked past her toward the bedroom. Okay. Okay? Okay, I repeated. If you say it was just work, then it was just work. She followed me. You don't believe me. I didn't say that. You don't have to. I can see it in your face. I started unbuttoning my shirt. What do you want me to say, Ashley? That I'm thrilled to discover my pregnant wife was inseparable from another man for 6 months? That I love hearing him publicly thank you for supporting him through his divorce? That I'm perfectly comfortable with all of this? Nothing happened. I looked at her directly. Then you have nothing to worry about. David. I'm tired. It's been a long day. Let's just go to bed. She stood there for a moment, then turned and left the room. I finished undressing, brushed my teeth, set my alarm. When I climbed into bed, Ashley was already under the covers, facing away from me. Good night, I said. She didn't respond. I lay in the darkness, listening to her breathing, thinking about Tyler's text message, his confident handshake, his easy smile. Thinking about the files on my laptop, the evidence stored in 3 separate cloud accounts. Thinking about timing and patience, and the importance of gathering all available data before making any final calculations. The ledger wasn't complete yet, but it was getting close. The coffee invitation sat in my messages for 3 days. I didn't delete it. I didn't respond either. Thursday morning, Ashley left for work at her usual time. I heard her car pull out of the driveway at 7:42 a.m. By 8:15, I was sitting in the parking lot of Evergreen Family Law, 3 blocks from my office. The receptionist looked about 25. Her desk nameplate read, Jordan. I need to speak with an attorney about divorce. She handed me a clipboard. Fill this out. Someone will be with you shortly. The intake form asked standard questions. Name, address, marriage date, children. I left the children section blank. The baby wasn't born yet. I didn't know how that worked legally. 15 minutes later, a woman in a navy suit appeared in the doorway. David, I'm Rebecca Walsh. Her office had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Willamette. She gestured to a chair across from her desk. Tell me what's going on. I'd rehearsed this. Keep it factual. No emotion. My wife had an affair with a colleague. It lasted approximately 6 months. She's currently 8 weeks pregnant. A paternity test confirmed the child is mine, but I only know this from emails I found. She doesn't know I have access to this information. Rebecca pulled a legal pad toward her. When did you discover the affair? 3 weeks ago, Tuesday, October 17th at approximately 3 p.m. Has she admitted to the affair? No, she denies anything inappropriate happened. But you have proof. I pulled out my phone, opened the cloud folder. 47 emails documenting the relationship, credit card statements showing hotel charges in Portland on dates she claimed to be elsewhere, calendar entries that don't match her stated locations, photographs of all documentation. Rebecca's expression didn't change, but she wrote faster. You photographed the emails rather than forwarding them? I forwarded them to a separate account first, then photographed the originals as they appeared on her laptop. Timestamps are visible in the photos. Smart, she looked up. Have you confronted her? Not directly. After a company event where her colleague made their relationship obvious to everyone present, I asked questions in the car. She became defensive and denied everything. The colleague, does he know you're aware? No. He texted me 3 days ago suggesting we get coffee. I haven't responded. Rebecca set down her pen. Oregon is a no-fault divorce state. The affair itself won't impact the divorce decree, but it can influence other factors. The pregnancy complicates things. Even if you divorce before the baby is born, Oregon law presumes you're the father if you were married at conception. You'd need to contest paternity, which requires... The paternity test already confirmed I'm the biological father. You've seen the results? No. Only her email to him stating the results. She made a note. We'll want to obtain the actual test results. Medical records require a subpoena, but since you're the presumed father, you have legal standing. Do you want to proceed with divorce? The question hung in the air. I'd been documenting, planning, gathering evidence. But saying yes made it real. Yes? All right. Oregon requires a 90-day waiting period from filing to finalization. Given the pregnancy, we'll need to address custody and support arrangements. You mentioned she works, same employer as her affair partner? Yes, she's based here in Eugene. He works in the Portland office. Income difference? She makes approximately 15% more than I do. Rebecca's eyebrow lifted slightly. That works in your favor for spousal support calculations. Oregon uses a formula based on income disparity and marriage length. How long have you been married? 4 years, 7 months. Short-term marriage. Spousal support would likely be limited or waived entirely, especially given her higher income. She flipped to a new page. Assets. Joint checking and savings. Combined approximately $48,000. House is jointly owned, current equity around $90,000. 2 vehicles, both paid off. Retirement accounts are separate. No significant debt beyond the mortgage. Straightforward division. Oregon is an equitable distribution state, not necessarily equal, but fair. The affair doesn't legally impact asset division, but we can argue for a favorable split based on other factors. She paused. What outcome are you looking for? I'd thought about this every night for 3 weeks. I want the house. I want her to understand there are consequences. And I want to make sure her employer knows exactly what happened on company time, using company resources. Rebecca nodded slowly. The house is achievable if you can buy out her equity or offset it with other assets. As for her employer, that's not part of the divorce proceedings, but you can file a complaint with their HR department. If the affair involved company time or resources, that's an internal matter for them to address. He was going through a divorce. She supported him through it. Their colleagues joked about how inseparable they were. All of this happened while she was traveling to Portland for work. Company travel creates liability issues if they were using work trips for personal relationships. Do you have documentation of the work travel? Her calendar shows which trips were work-related. The emails reference specific meetings and projects. I can cross-reference the hotel charges with her work calendar. Bring me everything. I'll need copies of the emails, financial statements, calendar entries, any text messages or other communications you found. We'll also need to discuss your goals for custody once the baby is born. The baby. I'd been thinking of it as evidence, as a data point in the timeline, but it was a person. My child. Shared custody. I'm not trying to keep her from the baby. I just want out of the marriage. Rebecca made another note. Given her higher income, you'd likely receive child support. Oregon uses a calculation based on both parents' income and custody arrangement. If you're pursuing primary custody, I'm not. 50-50. Then support would be minimal or offset entirely depending on exact income figures. She closed her legal pad. My retainer is $5,000. That covers initial filing, documentation review, and preliminary negotiations. If this goes to trial, additional fees apply. Most divorces settle before trial, especially in straightforward cases like this. I'd transferred money from savings to checking yesterday. I can write a check today? Then let's get started. I'll draft the petition this week. Before I file, I need you to bring me all documentation, everything you found. We'll also need to discuss when and how you want her served. Served? Divorce papers. A process server delivers them. You can request she be served at home or at work. Given the circumstances, I'd recommend work. The image formed immediately. Ashley at her desk. A stranger handing her papers while her colleagues watched. Public. Humiliating. At work, Rebecca stood. I'll have my assistant schedule a follow-up appointment for early next week. Bring the documentation then. In the meantime, don't discuss this with anyone except me. Don't tell friends, family, or colleagues that you're filing. Don't change your behavior at home. Act normal. I've been doing that for 3 weeks. Good. Keep doing it. She walked me to the door. One more thing. If she asks about finances, if she notices the retainer payment, what will you tell her? I hadn't thought about that. The checking account was joint. She could see the $5,000 check. I'll tell her it's for tax planning, year-end consulting. Rebecca almost smiled. You're good at this. I wrote the check at Jordan's desk. My hand didn't shake. The drive back to my office took 6 minutes. I parked in my usual spot, walked into the building, sat at my desk, opened my email. Responded to 3 client messages about quarterly estimates. At 11:47, my phone buzzed. Ashley. Having lunch with the team today. Might be late tonight. Monthly reports due tomorrow. I stared at the message. 3 weeks ago, I would have believed it. Would have texted back something supportive. Now I wondered if the team included trips to Portland. If monthly reports meant archived emails. I opened the cloud folder, scrolled through the photographs. 47 emails. Hotel receipts. Calendar discrepancies. Then I opened a new folder, labeled it Walsh Evergreen Family Law. Started a new document, titled it Documentation Inventory. The ledger was growing. The text from Tyler arrived at 9:47 a.m. on Thursday. Hey man, great meeting you Saturday. Want to grab coffee sometime? Always good to connect with partners' spouses. Makes the work-life balance easier when everyone's on the same page. I stared at the message for 30 seconds. The audacity was almost admirable. He'd shaken my hand, complimented my wife, suggested we become friends, all while having spent 6 months sleeping with her in hotel rooms I'd paid for. I typed back, "Sure, next week work?" His response came in under a minute. "Perfect. Tuesday? There's a place near the office." Sounds good. I forwarded the exchange to my personal email, added it to the cloud folder labeled Legal MISC, and set the phone down. Ashley walked into the kitchen wearing her navy work dress, the one that still fit despite the pregnancy. She'd complained last night that her clothes were getting tight. I'd suggested we go shopping this weekend. She'd smiled and kissed my cheek. "Who was that?" she asked. "Tyler. Wants to get coffee." Her hand froze halfway to the coffee maker. "Tyler Westbrook?" "Yeah. Said it's good when spouses connect. Work-life balance or something." She poured her decaf with careful precision. "You don't have to do that." "Why wouldn't I? He seemed nice. And you work with him all the time. Makes sense." "David." She turned to face me. "You've never wanted to meet my colleagues before." "I met plenty of them Saturday. You know what I mean." I looked up from my phone. "What do you mean?" She opened her mouth, closed it. Her fingers tapped against the mug. 3 times. Pause. 3 times again. A tell I'd cataloged over 9 years of marriage. "Nothing," she said. "It's just, Tyler's going through a lot right now. The divorce. He might not be great company. Then maybe he needs a friend." The tapping stopped. "Since when do you make friends with my coworkers?" "Since one of them reached out." I stood, kissed her forehead. "I'll be late tonight. Tax deadline prep." "It's May." "Extensions," I said. "You know how it is." I left her standing in the kitchen, still holding the mug, still trying to decode whether I knew. Rebecca Walsh's office was in a converted Craftsman on 8th Avenue, 20 minutes from my firm. I'd scheduled the appointment for 1 p.m., told my assistant I had a client lunch. She reviewed the documents I'd brought, printouts of the emails, credit card statements, the timeline I'd constructed in Excel. 43 hotel charges over 6 months. 17 dinners at restaurants Ashley had never mentioned. The receipt for the paternity test, dated March 14th. "The test result," Rebecca said. "You have documentation that you're the father?" I called the clinic. They can't release results without both parties' consent, but Ashley forwarded the email to Tyler. "It's in the archives." Rebecca made a note. "And she doesn't know you've accessed these emails?" "No." "How long do you plan to wait before filing?" "I want everything documented first. Every charge, every lie, every time she said she was at a conference when she was actually in a hotel." "That's already established. You have more than enough for—" "I want all of it," I said. "Complete record. No gaps." She studied me over her reading glasses. "This isn't about the divorce anymore, is it?" "This is exactly about the divorce." "No." She set down her pen. "This is about control. You lost it when you found that receipt. Now you're trying to get it back by documenting everything, building a case so airtight that she can't possibly contest it. You're not a therapist. No, but I've been doing this for 19 years, and I know when a client is treating their divorce like a military campaign. She leaned forward. I'm not saying don't document. I'm saying there's a point of diminishing returns. You could file tomorrow and win. Or you can spend another month gathering evidence and win the same amount. I want to meet with Tyler first. Why? Because I want to look him in the eye when he doesn't know that I know. Rebecca was quiet for a moment. And then what? Then I file. Then I have her served at work like we discussed. Then I send everything to HR. The HR complaint is risky. If they determine the relationship didn't violate policy, they used company travel, company time. I have emails where they discussed meeting during work hours. It might not be enough for termination. I don't need termination, I said. I need everyone in that office to know exactly what she did. Rebecca made another note. I'll prepare the filing. When you're ready to proceed, we can move quickly. But David, she looked up. At some point, you're going to have to actually confront her. Not just serve her papers. Have the conversation. Why? Because you're going to be co-parenting with this woman for the next 18 years. The more scorched earth you make this, the harder that becomes. She made it scorched earth when she spent 6 months in another man's bed. I understand. But think about... I am thinking, I said. I'm thinking very clearly. For the first time in weeks, I know exactly what I'm doing. I met Tyler on Tuesday at a coffee shop 3 blocks from Ashley's office. He was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with an Americano and his laptop open. David, he stood, shook my hand. Same firm grip as Saturday. Same easy smile. Thanks for making time. No problem. Slow week. We sat. He closed his laptop, gave me his full attention. So, Ashley mentioned you're in accounting? Tax preparation. Small firm, mostly individual clients. Must be brutal during filing season. It has its moments. He stirred his coffee. I really appreciate you being cool about this. Some partners get weird when their spouse works closely with someone of the opposite sex, especially with all the travel. My expression didn't change. Ashley and I trust each other. That's great. That's important. He took a sip. Diane was always paranoid. Accused me of cheating every time I went to Portland, which is ironic, considering she's the one who... He stopped. Sorry. Probably shouldn't unload about the divorce. It's fine. Ashley mentioned you've been going through a rough time. She's been amazing, he said. Seriously. I don't know how I would have gotten through the last 6 months without her support. She's good at that, supporting people. The best, he smiled. You're lucky. She talks about you all the time. The nursery you're planning, the baby. She's really excited. We both are. How far along is she now? 8 weeks. That's amazing. Congratulations again. He checked his phone. Listen, I wanted to ask, Ashley mentioned you guys might be looking for a financial advisor. My brother does wealth management, and I thought, we're good, I said. But thanks. Sure. Just thought I'd mention it. He leaned back. So what do you do for fun, besides preparing taxes and building nurseries? Not much lately. You? Running, mostly. Helps clear my head. There's a trail along the river I've been hitting pretty regularly. The Willamette Path? Yeah, exactly. You know it? Ashley runs there sometimes. Something flickered across his face. Right. Yeah, I think she mentioned that. I let the silence stretch. Watched him shift in his seat. Anyway, he said, I should probably get back, but we should do this again. Maybe grab dinner sometime, the 3 of us. The 3 of us? You, me, Ashley. Make it a regular thing. I stood. Sure, sounds good. We shook hands again. His palm was slightly damp. I called Rebecca from the car. "I'm ready to file," I said. "When do you want her served?" "Friday, at the office, during lunch." "That's 3 days from now." "I know." "And you're certain about this timeline?" "Completely." "All right. I'll have the papers drawn up by tomorrow. Process server will deliver them Friday at noon." I hung up, started the engine, drove back to the office and told my assistant to clear my calendar for Friday afternoon. Then I went home and asked Ashley what she wanted for dinner. She said lasagna. I said that sounded perfect. The serving window was Thursday, 11:47 a.m. to 12:13 p.m. I'd specified the exact time frame with Rebecca Walsh's paralegal. Maximum visibility. Minimum escape routes. I sat in my home office, laptop open to the tracking portal the process server used. The cursor blinked next to status, en route. Refresh, still en route. My phone buzzed. Tyler. "Hey man, really glad we connected. Want to grab lunch next week? There's this new ramen place in the Pearl District." I typed back, "Sounds good. I'll check my calendar." The performance had become automatic. 3 weeks of practice made the lies flow smooth as water. Refresh. Status, on location. 11:58 a.m. My hands were steady. I'd taken half a personal day, told my supervisor I had a dentist appointment. The truth was I needed to be here, alone, when it happened. I needed to watch the digital confirmation appear on my screen. Ashley had left for work at 7:30 this morning. She'd kissed my cheek, her hand resting briefly on my shoulder. "Love you," she'd said, exactly like she said it every morning. Her performance was flawless too. We were both actors now, playing our roles until the curtain fell. I'd responded with my usual, "Love you too." The words meant nothing. They were sounds, obligations, the price of maintaining position until the moment arrived. Refresh. 11:59 a.m. My second monitor displayed her Outlook calendar, still accessible through our shared password system. She had a team meeting at noon in conference room B. 12 people. I'd cross-referenced the attendee list against her company directory. Tyler wasn't invited. He worked out of the Portland office, only came to Eugene for quarterly reviews and special events. Perfect audience. Colleagues who'd witnessed the awards ceremony. People who'd seen Tyler thank her for her support during a difficult period. The same people who'd heard another colleague joke about them being inseparable for 6 months. The joke had been meant lightly. Office gossip, harmless speculation. But I'd filed it away with everything else. Another data point. Another witness who'd corroborate the timeline when I needed it. Refresh. 12:01 p.m. Status, service attempted. My breath caught. Then, status, service completed. Recipient signed. 12:03 p.m. The timestamp burned into my vision. I took a screenshot, saved it to 3 different folders. Evidence of evidence. Documentation of the moment everything changed. My phone stayed silent. I'd expected that. Ashley wouldn't call me first. She'd be in shock, trying to process the papers in her hands while 12 colleagues watched. The server would have been professional, polite. "Ashley Brennan, you've been served." Then the manila envelope, the required verbal confirmation, the retreat. I imagined her face, the color draining. Her hands shaking as she opened the envelope, saw the header. Petition for dissolution of marriage. The papers included everything. Requests for full financial disclosure. Asset division proposals. Custody arrangements for the unborn child. A formal notice that I was aware of extramarital relations with Tyler James Westbrook, and that such relations constituted grounds for fault-based divorce in our prenuptial agreement. We'd signed the prenup 5 years ago. Standard stuff, her attorney had said, just protects both parties. Ashley had barely read it before signing. I'd read every word. Twice. The infidelity clause was clear. Marital misconduct resulting in verified extramarital relations would result in forfeiture of spousal support and a reduced claim to marital assets. Oregon was a no-fault divorce state, but prenuptial agreements could still enforce penalties for specific behaviors if both parties had agreed to the terms. Ashley had agreed. Her signature was on page 7, right above mine. My phone buzzed. Not Ashley, Rebecca Walsh. Confirmed service at 12:03 p.m. Expect contact within the hour. Do not engage. Refer all communication to me. I typed, understood, refresh. Her Outlook calendar updated. The noon meeting showed a new note. Rescheduled. Ashley unavailable. So she'd fled. Conference room to bathroom, probably. Or her car. Somewhere private where she could call her own attorney, her mother, someone who might tell her this was fixable. It wasn't. The documentation was airtight. 47 emails. Credit card statements showing charges at hotels in Portland on dates when she'd claimed to be visiting friends. The paternity test receipt. Photographs of everything, stored in cloud accounts she couldn't access. Testimony from colleagues who'd witnessed her relationship with Tyler. The award ceremony video, publicly posted on the company's website, where Tyler's speech made their connection obvious. I'd even pulled our joint cell phone records. 217 calls between Ashley's number and Tyler's over 6 months. Text message metadata showing thousands of messages exchanged. I couldn't access the content, encrypted messaging apps, but the volume and frequency told the story clearly enough. My phone rang. Ashley. I let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, another call. Voicemail again. Then a text. Please call me. Another. David. Please. We need to talk. This is insane. I can explain everything. I watched the messages appear, one after another. Desperation in digital form. I didn't respond. Rebecca's instructions were clear. 0 contact. Every interaction from this point forward would be documented, analyzed, potentially used in court. Anything I said could be twisted, misinterpreted, weaponized. Silence was safety. Another text. I'm coming home. I checked the time. 12:17 p.m. Her office was 23 minutes away in normal traffic. I had time. I closed the laptop, stood, walked to the kitchen. Made a sandwich. Turkey, Swiss, mustard on wheat. I ate it standing at the counter, chewing methodically, tasting nothing. The house was quiet. No humming. No sounds of Ashley moving through rooms, her presence filling spaces. Just silence and the hum of the refrigerator. I finished the sandwich, rinsed the plate, loaded it in the dishwasher. Routine maintenance. Normal behavior. My phone buzzed continuously now. More texts from Ashley. Then one from a number I didn't recognize. This is Diane Kruger, attorney representing Ashley Brennan. Please contact my office to discuss settlement negotiations. Fast. Ashley had called an attorney within minutes of being served. Smart, but expected. I forwarded the message to Rebecca without comment. Her response came immediately. Do not respond. I'll handle all communication. The front door opened at 12:34 p.m. Ashley's footsteps in the entryway, rapid and unsteady. She called my name. I stayed in the kitchen, leaning against the counter, arms crossed. She appeared in the doorway. Her face was blotchy, eyes red. She still held the manila envelope, crumpled now from being gripped too tightly. David. Her voice cracked. What is this? I didn't answer. You can't. This isn't. She couldn't finish sentences. Her hands shook. We need to talk about this. You can't just. My attorney will communicate with your attorney, I said. My voice was level, neutral. I have nothing to say to you. David, please. She stepped closer. I know you're angry, but. Stop. She froze. I'm not angry, I said. It was true. Anger had burned out weeks ago, replaced by something colder and more permanent. I'm done. That's all. We're done. The baby, we'll have two parents who live separately. The custody proposal is in the papers. My attorney will ensure appropriate arrangements. You can't take my baby. Our baby, I corrected. The paternity test you got 3 weeks ago confirmed that. Remember? The test you got at the Portland fertility clinic when you told me you were visiting Emma? Her face went white. I know everything, Ashley. Every email, every hotel charge, every lie. I pushed off the counter, stood straight. I've known for 3 weeks. I've documented everything. I've prepared everything. And now it's done. You've been... She couldn't process it. You've been pretending? For 3 weeks? Yes. That's psychotic. That's thorough, I said. There's a difference. She stared at me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Maybe the person she'd married wouldn't have done this. But that person had died the moment I found the receipt. What remained was something else. Something that understood ledgers and balances and the price of betrayal. I want you out of the house by 6 p.m., I said. Take whatever you need for the next few days. We'll arrange a formal division of personal property through our attorneys. This is my house too. Read the papers. The prenup is clear. Infidelity forfeits your claim to marital residence. You can contest it, but you'll lose. I moved toward the doorway. She didn't step aside, so I stopped inches from her. 6 p.m., Ashley. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Tyler and I, it's over. It's been over. It was a mistake. I don't care. David, please. My phone buzzed. Rebecca. Her attorney is requesting emergency hearing for temporary restraining order, preventing you from excluding her from marital residence. Standard tactic. Ignore it. Judge won't grant without evidence of danger. I showed Ashley the screen. Your attorney is already playing games. This is why we don't talk. Everything you say, everything I say, it all becomes ammunition, so we're done talking. I walked past her, back to my office, and closed the door. Through the wood, I heard her crying. Broken, gasping sobs that might have moved me once. They didn't anymore. The ledger was balancing. Finally. The house was empty by 6:47 p.m. I watched Ashley's SUV pull out of the driveway from the home office window, packed with whatever she'd managed to grab in 3 hours and 44 minutes. 2 suitcases, her laptop bag, a box of shoes. She'd left most of it behind. I walked through the rooms after she left, documenting everything with my phone camera. The nursery Pinterest board still open on her laptop. Her coffee mug in the sink, lipstick stain on the rim. A half-finished grocery list on the counter. Bananas, Greek yogurt, prenatal vitamins. I photographed all of it. Rebecca called at 7:15 p.m. She's staying at the Hilton on Valley River Center Drive, Rebecca said. Her attorney requested an emergency hearing for Monday morning, Judge Patterson's docket. What are they arguing? Constructive eviction. They're claiming you forced her out of the marital home while she's pregnant, creating undue hardship. They want temporary exclusive possession of the house and emergency spousal support pending the divorce. I sat down at the kitchen table. The same table where we'd eaten dinner every night for 3 years. Will it work? Not with Patterson. He's seen the prenup, but Ashley's attorney is going to paint you as vindictive and cruel. Expect them to argue that the prenup is unconscionable given her pregnancy. The baby doesn't change the contract. I know that. You know that. But they're going to try to make you look like a monster who threw his pregnant wife into the street. Rebecca paused. How are you holding up? I'm fine. David, I need to know about the HR complaint. When should I send it? Another pause. After the hearing. If we send it now, Ashley's attorney will argue you're trying to destroy her professionally out of spite, which undermines our position that this is purely about enforcing a valid contract. So Monday afternoon. Tuesday morning would be better. Let the judge rule first. Then it's just a separate matter of workplace misconduct. I ended the call and sat in the empty house. The refrigerator hummed. The heating system clicked on. Normal sounds that felt wrong without Ashley moving through the rooms. My phone buzzed at 8:03 p.m. Tyler. Hey man, tried calling Ashley but she's not picking up. Everything okay? I stared at the message for 30 seconds. David. She's dealing with some personal stuff. Might be offline for a bit. Tyler. Nothing serious, I hope? David. Just family things. I'm sure she'll reach out when she can. Tyler. Cool. Let me know if you guys need anything. I set the phone down and opened my laptop. The HR complaint was already drafted, saved in 3 different cloud accounts. 2,000 words documenting the 6-month affair between Ashley Bennett and Tyler Westbrook, complete with 47 emails showing the relationship began during a Portland sales conference in November, hotel receipts from 12 different overnight stays, credit card statements showing dinners at Portland restaurants while Ashley told me she was visiting college friends, text messages discussing meeting at Ashley's office after hours, calendar entries showing coordinated business trips that overlapped. I'd included a separate section on company policy violations. Ashley's employee handbook explicitly prohibited romantic relationships between employees without HR disclosure. The handbook also outlined expectations for professional conduct during business travel. I attached the prenuptial agreement as supporting documentation. Not because HR needed it, but because I wanted Ashley's employer to understand the financial consequences she'd already triggered through her own choices. The complaint was addressed to Linda Hayworth, Senior Vice President of Human Resources, with copies to the General Counsel and Ashley's direct supervisor. I saved it again and closed the laptop. Saturday morning, I drove to Home Depot and bought new locks for all the exterior doors. It took me 3 hours to install them. I'd never changed locks before, but the YouTube tutorial was straightforward enough. I texted Ashley at 2:34 p.m. Locks changed. Your key no longer works. Coordinate through attorneys for retrieving remaining belongings. She didn't respond. Sunday, I went to the office. The tax deadline was still 6 weeks away, but I had client files that needed attention. Work had always been the thing that made sense. Numbers balanced or they didn't. Deductions were allowed or they weren't. There was no ambiguity in tax code. I billed 11 hours and didn't think about Ashley once. Monday morning, I wore the navy suit Rebecca had suggested. Conservative but expensive, she'd said. We want you to look successful and reasonable. The courthouse was downtown, a brutalist concrete building from the 70s. Rebecca met me in the hallway outside Judge Patterson's courtroom at 8:45 a.m. Ashley's attorney is going to be aggressive, she said. Don't react. Don't make faces. Don't shake your head. Just sit there and look calm. I am calm. She studied my face. I know. That's what worries me a little. Judge Patterson's courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, 20 seats in the gallery. Ashley sat at the plaintiff's table with her attorney, a woman in her 50s wearing a burgundy suit. Ashley had on a loose gray dress that emphasized her pregnancy. Strategic choice. She didn't look at me when I sat down. Her attorney went first. Janet Crowley, according to the nameplate on the table. She stood and addressed the judge with the kind of rehearsed outrage that probably worked well with juries. Your Honor, my client is 8 weeks pregnant and was forced from her home with less than 4 hours' notice. Mr. Bennett changed the locks, denying her access to her belongings and her safe, stable living environment during a high-risk pregnancy. This is constructive eviction, pure and simple, and we're asking the court to grant Mrs. Bennett temporary exclusive possession of the marital home and emergency spousal support of $5,000 per month pending resolution of the divorce. Judge Patterson, a thin man in his 60s with reading glasses on a chain, looked at Rebecca. Counselor? Rebecca stood. Your Honor, Mrs. Bennett was not evicted. She was asked to leave the marital home after Mr. Bennett discovered she'd conducted a 6-month extramarital affair with a coworker. The parties have a valid prenuptial agreement with an infidelity clause that Mrs. Bennett signed after independent legal review. That agreement specifically addresses this scenario. She slid a copy of the prenup across to the judge. He'd already seen it, but Rebecca was making a point. Mrs. Bennett chose to leave the home rather than face the consequences of her actions, Rebecca continued. Mr. Bennett has offered, through counsel, to allow her supervised access to retrieve her remaining belongings. He has not denied her anything she's entitled to under the prenuptial agreement. Crowley stood again. The prenup was signed 3 years ago, before my client became pregnant. Circumstances have materially changed. She has medical needs. She requires stability. The agreement anticipated pregnancy, Rebecca said. Section 7, Paragraph 3 specifically addresses children born during the marriage. Mrs. Bennett's pregnancy doesn't invalidate the contract she signed. Judge Patterson held up one hand. I've read the prenup. It's properly executed. Both parties had independent counsel, and there's no evidence of duress or unconscionability. He looked at Crowley. Your client signed away her right to spousal support in the event of infidelity. The pregnancy is unfortunate timing, but it doesn't change the contract. Your Honor, my client is staying in a hotel. Your client can find an apartment. Motion for exclusive possession denied. Motion for emergency spousal support denied. He looked at both attorneys. Anything else? Rebecca shook her head. Crowley's jaw tightened, but she sat down. The whole hearing lasted 11 minutes. Outside the courthouse, Rebecca walked me to my car. That went as well as we could have hoped. Patterson's not going to let her rewrite the prenup just because she's pregnant. What happens next? Discovery, financial disclosures. Probably another 3 months before we get a final hearing. She paused. You can send the HR complaint now if you want. I nodded. Tomorrow morning. David. She waited until I looked at her. You've won. The prenup holds. She's not getting the house, she's not getting support. You can ease up now. She's still employed. That's not your problem. It's a policy violation. Their handbook is clear. Rebecca sighed. Just remember what I said. You're going to be co-parenting with this person for 18 years. I got in my car and drove back to the office. Tuesday morning at 9:02 a.m., I sent the HR complaint to Linda Hayworth with copies to General Counsel and Ashley's supervisor. The email was professional, factual, and included every piece of documentation I'd collected. I received an automated response confirming receipt. At 11:47 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. This is David Bennett. Mr. Bennett, this is Linda Hayworth from Bennett Industries. Wrong company name, but I didn't correct her. I've received your complaint and I need to schedule a time to discuss this matter with you. Everything you need is in the documentation. I understand, but company policy requires that I conduct interviews with all parties involved in a workplace conduct investigation. Would you be available to meet this week? I'm not an employee of your company. No, but you filed a formal complaint. I need to understand the full scope of the allegations. Her voice was careful, professional. This is a serious matter, Mr. Bennett. We take workplace relationships and policy violations very seriously. I checked my calendar. Thursday at 2 p.m. I'll send you a confirmation email. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. She ended the call. I sat at my desk and looked at the tax returns I was supposed to be reviewing. The numbers blurred together. My phone buzzed. Text from Tyler. Tyler. Dude, what the hell is going on? HR just called me in for a meeting. I deleted the message without responding. I sat across from Linda Hayworth in a windowless conference room on the 3rd floor of Ashley's office building. She had the complaint printed out, 3-hole punched, in a black binder. A younger woman sat beside her taking notes. HR assistant, probably, or legal. Linda was direct. Mr. Bennett, I've reviewed your documentation. I've also spoken with Mrs. Bennett and Mr. Westbrook separately. Before we conclude this investigation, I need to understand your objective here. Policy enforcement. You're not an employee. You have no standing to demand enforcement. I'm informing you of violations. What you do with that information is your decision. She tapped the binder. You've provided emails, receipts, calendar entries. You've built a case that would make our internal investigators look lazy. She paused. This isn't about policy. This is about punishment. I didn't respond. Mr. Westbrook has already resigned, she said. Effective immediately. Mrs. Bennett is on administrative leave pending our final determination. Given her pregnancy and the circumstances, we're likely looking at a separation agreement rather than termination. She violated company policy for 6 months. She did, and there will be consequences. But Mr. Bennett, Linda leaned forward. At some point, you need to ask yourself what you're actually trying to accomplish. Because from where I'm sitting, you've already won everything there is to win. I stood. Thank you for your time. The divorce was finalized on a Thursday in August, 93 days after I'd filed. Ashley didn't contest anything in the end. The prenup held. I kept the house, the retirement accounts, most of the savings. She got her car and whatever personal belongings she'd removed. The custody arrangement was 50-50 once the baby was born. I'd insisted on that. Rebecca had been surprised. Most vindictive spouses fought for primary custody. But I meant what I'd said. The child deserved both parents. Ashley found a new job in Portland 2 weeks after her separation agreement was finalized. She moved there in September. I heard through mutual friends that Tyler had moved to Seattle. They weren't together. Whatever they'd had died somewhere between the HR investigation and the divorce proceedings. Our daughter was born in December. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Ashley called me from the hospital at 4:17 a.m. I drove to Portland and got there by 6:30. We were civil, polite. We took turns holding the baby. We didn't talk about anything except feeding schedules and pediatrician recommendations. I named her Claire. Ashley had wanted Emma, but the custody agreement gave me final say on the first name since Ashley chose the middle name. Small victory. Meaningless, really, but I took it anyway. The first year of Claire's life was logistics. Handoffs every Friday, coordinating doctor's appointments, text messages about formula preferences and sleep schedules. Ashley and I communicated like business partners managing a shared project. Efficient. Bloodless. I was good at it. I'd always been good at systems and processes. Claire's second birthday was on a Sunday. Ashley had her that weekend, but she texted asking if I wanted to come to the party. Small gathering, just family. I almost said no. But Claire was 2. She wouldn't remember if I was there, but she'd see the photos someday. So I went. Ashley's apartment in Portland was smaller than our house had been. 1 bedroom. Claire slept in a converted office space. But it was clean, organized, filled with children's books and toys. Ashley had always been good at making spaces feel warm. Her parents were there. They were polite to me, strained, but polite. We'd all been close once before everything imploded. Now we were people who shared a grandchild and nothing else. I stayed for an hour, watched Claire destroy a cupcake, helped clean frosting off the walls, made small talk with Ashley's mother about Claire's vocabulary development. As I was leaving, Ashley walked me to the door. "Thank you for coming," she said. "Of course." She hesitated. "David, She stopped, started again. "I've wanted to say this for a long time. I'm sorry. For everything. For what I did. For what I put you through." I looked at her. Really looked at her for the first time in 2 years. She looked tired. Older. There were lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before. "Okay," I said. "That's it? Okay? What do you want me to say?" "I don't know. Something. Anything." Her voice cracked slightly. "I destroyed our marriage. I destroyed our life. And you systematically dismantled everything I had like you were solving a math problem. You made choices. I documented consequences. David, I was a person, not a problem to solve. You stopped being a person to me the moment you lied about where you were going and who you were with." I opened the door. "But that was a long time ago. We have Claire now. That's what matters?" "Does it matter?" Ashley asked. "Or is she just another obligation you're managing?" I turned back. "I love my daughter." "I know you do. But David, do you feel anything? About any of this? About what happened to us?" I thought about the question. Really thought about it. "No," I said finally. "I don't." It was the truth. Somewhere between finding the receipt and finalizing the divorce, I turned off everything that wasn't useful. Anger, grief, betrayal, all of it had been processed, cataloged, and filed away. What remained was function. I went to work. I took care of Claire. I paid my bills and maintained my house and existed in the world like a machine that looked like a person. "That's sad," Ashley said quietly. "Maybe. But it works." I left. Claire is 7 now. She's smart, funny, obsessed with dinosaurs and chapter books. She has Ashley's smile and my tendency to organize everything into neat categories. She doesn't know the full story of why her parents aren't together. Someday she'll ask, and I'll have to decide how much truth a child can handle. For now, she knows that mommy and daddy live in different houses but both love her very much. It's not a lie. I do love her. She's the one thing from that marriage that wasn't corrupted by betrayal and documentation and the cold mathematics of revenge. Ashley got remarried last year. A software engineer named Ben, who seems decent enough. Claire likes him. I'm cordial when we interact at school events and handoffs. He's never tried to be Claire's father, which I appreciate. He understands his role. I haven't dated anyone. People ask sometimes, friends, colleagues, my mother. I tell them I'm focused on work and raising Claire. It's easier than explaining that I'm not sure I'm capable of trusting another person that completely again. Rebecca Walsh retired last year. Before she closed her practice, she sent me a letter. I still have it in my desk drawer. David. In 30 years of family law, I've represented hundreds of clients. Most of them were angry, hurt people trying to survive the worst experience of their lives. You were different. You were never angry. You were precise. You won everything you set out to win. The house, the assets, the vindication. You executed your strategy perfectly. But I wonder sometimes if you ever asked yourself what victory cost you. I hope you find a way to be more than the sum of your documentation. Rebecca. I read it once and put it away. I understood what she was saying. I'd turned myself into a ledger, and ledgers don't feel pain. They also don't feel joy or hope, or whatever it is that makes people more than just collections of data points. But here's what Rebecca didn't understand. I didn't lose anything when I became this. I chose it. When Ashley destroyed the person I'd been, the trusting husband who believed in transparency and partnership, I had two options. I could collapse under the weight of that betrayal, or I could rebuild myself into something that couldn't be betrayed again. I chose reconstruction. The ledger always balances. That's what I learned. You can't cheat the math. Ashley took 6 months of intimacy that belonged to our marriage and gave it to someone else. She took trust and replaced it with lies. She took the future we'd planned and traded it for hotel rooms in Portland. So I took everything else. The house, the savings, her job, her reputation, her comfortable life where she could have both the marriage and the affair, the stability and the excitement, the husband at home and the lover in Portland. I took all of it, and I didn't feel guilty for a single second, because the ledger always balances. Last month, Claire asked me why I don't smile in photos. We were looking through her baby album, one of those shared custody projects where Ashley and I both contribute pictures. Claire noticed that in every photo, Ashley is smiling. Her parents are smiling. Ben is smiling. Even Tyler, in the few early pictures before I had them all removed, was smiling. I'm not. In every single photo, I'm present, positioned correctly, looking at the camera. But I'm not smiling. "You look sad, Daddy," Claire said. "I'm not sad, sweetheart." "Then why don't you smile?" I didn't have an answer she would understand. How do you explain to a 7-year-old that her father traded his capacity for joy for the certainty that he'd never be vulnerable again? "I smile on the inside," I told her. She considered this seriously. "That doesn't count." "Why not?" "Because then nobody knows you're happy." "Maybe I don't need people to know." She looked at me with those dark eyes, Ashley's eyes, and said something that's been rattling around in my head for weeks. "But Daddy, if nobody knows you're happy, then what's the point of being happy?" I think about that question a lot now. I won. By every objective measure, I won. Ashley lost her marriage, her job, her home, her reputation. I documented everything, executed my strategy flawlessly, and emerged with exactly what I'd set out to claim. But Claire's question haunts me. What's the point? The house is clean and organized and empty. I maintain it perfectly. Every surface is dust-free, every bill is paid on time, every system functions exactly as it should. It's a monument to control and order, and the absolute certainty that no one will ever surprise me again. It's also profoundly lonely. I haven't told anyone that. Not my friends, not my family, not the therapist I saw twice before deciding therapy required a level of vulnerability I wasn't willing to risk. But it's true. I traded everything soft and human and messy for the hard certainty of documentation and evidence and irrefutable truth. I won the divorce. I'm winning at co-parenting. I'm winning at work and finances and every measurable metric of success. But I'm losing at being a person. Claire sees it. Ashley probably sees it. Maybe everyone sees it except me. Or maybe I see it and I just don't know how to be anything else anymore. The ledger always balances. That's true. But what I didn't understand, what I couldn't see when I was buried in receipts and emails and the cold satisfaction of perfect documentation, is that some balances aren't worth achieving. I took everything from Ashley because she took everything from me first. Fair trade, equal exchange. The math works out perfectly. But perfect math doesn't keep you warm at night. It doesn't give you someone to share coffee with in the morning or laugh with about nothing. It doesn't give you the messy, complicated, risky business of actually trusting another human being. It just gives you a balanced ledger and an empty house. I look at Claire sometimes and I see the person I used to be. Open, trusting, capable of joy without calculating its cost. She gives her love freely, assumes the best in people, gets hurt and bounces back like it's nothing. She's 7. She hasn't learned yet that people will betray you. That trust is a weapon they can use to destroy you. That the only safe position is perfect control. I hope she never learns those lessons. I hope she grows up to be everything I'm not anymore. And maybe, watching her will teach me how to be human again. How to smile on the outside. How to risk feeling something without immediately documenting it for future evidence. How to live in a way that's more than just the absence of vulnerability. I don't know if that's possible. The ledger is balanced, but I'm not sure I know how to close the books and start a new page. But for Claire's sake, I have to try. Because she was right. If nobody knows you're happy, what's the point of being happy? And if you're so busy protecting yourself that you forget how to be happy at all, what's the point of anything? The ledger always balances. But maybe, just maybe, some things shouldn't be reduced to ledgers in the first place. I'm still learning that lesson. I might be learning it for the rest of my life.